Anthony Albanese could be in trouble at next year's federal election. He's continuing to poll badly. News poll analysis in The Australian shows that Labor has shed critical support from Middle Australia amid the cost of living crisis. Not only that, Labor's lost its edge with female voters. Both genders are now split 50-50 on the two major parties for the first time. And the analysis shows that Labor is losing electoral territory in key demographics as well in New South Wales and Victoria. So it indicates that Labor is really going to struggle to retain a majority government at the 2025 election. And the key issue really is the cost of living, especially as families have been struggling with their mortgage repayments and interest rate rises. The Greens are also in trouble, according to this analysis, and having lost territory to Labor among younger voters. And this also comes just after Adam Bant foolishly boasted about its stance on Israel and the Middle East conflict. But it's interesting, Albo is really in trouble here, it seems. I just think he's been too slow to act on anti-Semitism. He's already bought his retirement home. If people are voting with their wallets, they're probably not going to be voting for him again. He can't seem to get a lift, as we see these news polls time and time again. Things aren't turning round for him. And I think this all really started with The Voice. He spent a whole year on The Voice, $500 million. He's been trying to make his mark and he hasn't been able to do it.
Exactly. We have been in a per capita recession for 7 quarters. 7 quarters, families have been going backwards. People have been taking home less pay after they pay for all the essentials, which have been going up with crazy high inflation. So we just have to think about, where is the average family sitting now versus 2 years ago? In under 150 days, we will have an election. And I think Albanese should be extremely worried. And the other problem for Labor is that they really have nothing else up their sleeve. In fact, I think they will avoid releasing another budget before the election because it will be so disastrous for them. And they have zero policy vision or ideas to actually bring down the cost of living, other than energy subsidies to solve an energy crisis that they are exacerbating. So the challenges for Labor are immense. If they do a coalition with the Greens or any sort of appeasement of the Greens, I think it will just get worse because the key areas of kind of policy interest for the Greens are energy, ending all coal and gas. That is just going to make the cost of living so much worse for families. And so I think Labor is really in a very difficult position now. And once the momentum starts to swing, it is very hard to turn that around. And we have been seeing every news poll, the coalition has just been eating away at their lead, and I don't think that's going to change.
He's just been continuing to poll badly, hasn't he, Joe?
Yeah, he has. Look, it's not quite. The interesting thing about this, and I agree with just about everything Freya said. Firstly, there is no way they are going to form a coalition with the Greens. There is no way they are going to sign anything with the Greens. In most seats, the Greens probably won't even receive their next preference. They'll do a deal with the Cannabis Party instead, who is much more sort of libertarian and fun, and they are much nicer people, I can promise you, than the Greens, the legalised Cannabis Party. And that is something that happened in the Queensland state election and will be replicated at the federal state election. And, you know, you say the word cannabis and obviously it's very easy to start giggling, and have it, and it's even easier to start giggling. But this is part of a serious strategy for Labor to distance itself as much as possible from the Greens. The PM, I can assure you personally, hates them. They have ruined his life on Palestine. They were camped outside his electorate office for years. They've been, you know, they or their supporters have been harassing MPs and their electorate officers, supporting the defacement of the Australian War Memorial. I mean,
it's been so bad.
You name it. It's been absolutely disgraceful. And we've seen them go backwards. And the fact that the Greens are now coming out and begging Labor to basically give them a little sugar just shows how desperate they are. It's a bit like, you know, you don't go out with, you know, you don't get a date with the hottest chick at school by crying and saying, please, 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 I'll do anything you want, please, 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 which is exactly what Adam Bant is doing by trying to say, come on, govern with us. Labor is going to put itself as far away from the Greens as it possibly can. It's already working, according to this news poll. And to be honest, the fact that they are still 50-50 two-party preferred, given everything that's happened, I reckon that is actually a surprisingly good sign. And that has been holding. This is an analysis over, I think, the last 3 months of news polls, because you need to add up all the data so you can then break it down. You need that to build that sample size up to about 5,000, something like that. And so this is an average of the last 3 months, not necessarily the last month. It is possible, and I live in hope, that after Christmas, a brand new year, people think, well, it can't get any worse. Maybe there's a prospect of a rate cut, hopefully for Labor before the election, at least almost definitely one or two throughout the course of the year. Maybe that will make people think, you know what, 2024, get in the bin, but maybe things are going to get better. Who do I trust more to get me there? Maybe we should give Albo another go instead of...
I don't think rate cut's going to do it.
I don't think that's going to happen. And I think all of the RBA commentary that we're seeing, this was confirmed by the IMF a couple of days ago, is that the cost of living crisis we are experiencing now is a result of huge government spending and fiscal expansion. So even if we see a rate cut, it's not actually dealing with the underlying issue, which is government spending. And if Labor carries that on, we're just going to have sustainably higher inflation. Government spending is now making up 27% of the entire economy. Is coming from government spending alone. That is one of the highest levels on record. It is hard to see where they go from here, because the deficits and even the interest payments on government debt are now 1% of the total budget. So how is this sustainable? So if we do, I think people will seriously, they'll look at their wallets, they'll go, actually, I am poorer than I was 2.5 years ago. What is Labor's plan to get me through this? Basically just spend more money on a whole bunch of gimmick policies. Okay, that's not a real solution given they caused this whole problem. So I don't think that's going to happen.